Welcome. This is Peter Palmieri, and this is Making Comics and Art, episode 369. So, actually, that's decent, I guess. One sec. One second, folks. Got a lot going on. If you didn't know, I'll be streaming again tonight. Got an interview with Ray Whitaker on his new comic. If you've been following along, and bless you if you have, I know it's hard to keep track of everything I've got going on. Here alone on YouTube, I've been streaming, uploading videos occasionally, doing shorts, and that's fine. And yeah, I'm jumping all over the place, I realize, and if you're on any individual social site, I've been posting different stuff like Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and even LinkedIn, whatever. Yeah, it's not always the same stuff on different sites and whatnot, but I'm trying to give a broad look at everything I got going on, and I'm jumping around a lot, which is going to be the recipe for this year. It's just my workload is crazy insane. It will help once I get rid of a few things. Once I finish off some things like this pinup is the third of three, so you won't really hear me talking about this book anymore. This is for Sword Sorcery Magazine, which they did a backer kit for. It was successfully funded, and we'll see that put together and released sometime this year. But yeah, I got a graphic novel. I'm working on Faction Paradox. Trying to think of what I got sooner than later. I got a couple of collaborations, one with Joe Miller. We did the Galactus piece together, and we got an X-Men coming up. I got one with Neil George, who he's been on the channel, but we haven't collaborated as of yet. This will be our first, and this will be an Iron Man from Armor Wars piece, which is very cool. And me and Neil are working with a writer, Finn Clark, who's also the writer of Faction Paradox. What we're doing together is a book proposal. So we're going to do 7 pages of a comic that I'll mention if it gets picked once it gets picked up. Yeah, so book proposals are a tough thing. I have yet to be successful in doing one, but I believe we even have a colorist, Todd. I'm not going to butcher his last name unless I see it in front of me. I'll butcher it. So, but yeah, so I'm excited for that project. That might be a 4-issue series. It depends who picks it up and what they think of it and how much they want to back it and all that jazz. So if and when that happens, I'll give you all the insights into what we did behind the scenes. But it should be cool. So yeah, I got this collaborations. Faction Paradox is going to be a bigger part of what I'll be focusing on. Brett Cantel, I got a batch of pages of his, 2 different projects, 1 single page for one project, and 7 pages to another project. So I got to get on that probably soon. I also have Randy Bishop's Hawk in New York, but I don't believe he's rushing on that. That's going to be for his trade anyway. He said something about, looking at everything again in the spring. So he does animation. He does other stuff. I believe he has a day job. I talk to so many people, I forget who's doing what. But yeah, let me start to get into this. I could keep talking. I could keep talking while I do so. I might work on this guy. This little kind of werewolf guy. Yeah, so I'm all over the place, but that's I got 10 books I want to finish this year. I hope I can get close to that. We shall see. The year is young. The year is young. I got some paperwork I got to take care of. I got to go to the bank today. And like I said, I'll be streaming later. And that would be like an actual interview format because that's what Ray said he preferred. Yeah, I want to have him on. I been seeing him a long time. Well, originally we were going to collaborate on a book for Tribe Studio Comics, but things got changed up on that. I am going to do a one-shot for Tribe. I may get to that this year. It's something I'll be co-writing with Joe Flores, but penciling and inking myself. And Joe more than likely will be doing the coloring on that. We shall see. Depends how overburdened I am at the moment when I get to it. Because I do want to start coloring my own work as well. That I'm really pushing myself in an effort to be more in demand or more in demand. What am I trying to say? More value to when people hire me. Like if I can nail coloring down, that will be yet another skill that people will hire me for. I don't necessarily want to color other people's work, but I want to color my own work. Because when it comes right down to it, I'm very picky. I'm very picky of people color my work, how people promote my work. Well, even me, you know, but yeah, this is going to be one hell of a crazy, hectic year, but in a good way, I did an interview, not the best time to do an interview. I got so much going on, my brain's a little fried at times. I'm trying my best to keep on top of things and not burn out. But because many things are in many different stages, it's kind of tough to like really promote it. I want to really start promoting when at least one thing is, like done and in that sort of promotional stage. Like, I don't know if we're going with the same plan. I'll find out maybe next week. But faction, like we talked about it last year, and we were going to crowdfund it in February. If that's still the plan, then that's when I'll get on that bandwagon. So nothing yet set in stone. I want to at least have a chunk of the book in progress. Right now, I think I have 13 pages to ink, and I'm jumping around a bit because it's a little challenging. I posted a short about it. It's digitally penciled as opposed to regularly penciled, and it's going to take me inking it a certain way, or loosely working with the colorists and telling them, look, this is what the pencils look like. This is how I inked it. You as the colorist should, do color holds or whatever. Like, I'm not going to tell the colorists what to do, but make them aware of any deviations I may incur. So I'm at least going an hour today. I don't expect a lot of people to show up. I did promote it a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Like typically I stream it for and I only just promoted it now. So we'll see. We'll see. In the year 2000. That's a SNL skit, maybe. Somebody mentioned that recently, and it's stuck in my head. I will mention, whether you've been here or not, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not. I'm trying to grow it. Every little thing helps, especially if you share out my videos. Whether they're, as they're live or even afterwards, everything helps. Everything. Help me get those numbers up. I'm not so much into doing a lot of things YouTubers do to grow their channels, other than, I'm trying to post more. just trying to do my own thing. I do want to mention a couple of friends of mine, Scott Circlin and Kevin Cross. If you followed me for years, you know, I used to be part of the 100s. That kind of just folded because it really started with Kevin Cross. But you know, he did it for a while, and you know, it worked for him. You know, definitely got him a ton of attention. But then, you know, he didn't want to keep with it. Other people took it over, but then eventually felt that, you know, it was really Kevin's thing, and let's all move. Regardless, Kevin and Scott got together recently and decided to do collaborations. So there's a new Kevin Cross video that leads directly into a new Scott Circlin video. Now, Scott has 2 channels now. His original Circworks is going to be focused on comic books, but his new channel, I believe it's Retro Art Labs, because his original channel was Circworks Art Labs. And yeah, so if you check out both their new videos, they make something collaboration together, and it's a lot of fun. I wasn't subscribed to Scott's newest channel. I am now. You know, I'm mostly interested in comic book art, but he does a lot of, you know, retros in the name. There's a lot of nostalgia things. You'll see. Just go check out the channel. And of course, you know, retro being in my name, I got the copyright on anyone who uses the name retro. I get 75 cents of everything. So be aware. I'm kidding. You know, one of the 10 books that I mentioned earlier that I must get done this year is retro. Get the first issue of that finito, blocked and loaded, and then printed and sent to all the people who pledged to it. Finally. It's been years. Speaking of retro. Yeah, I just, you know, like one of the things I'm trying to do this year is to potentially make better money, which will facilitate me working on my own personal projects more. You can, you know, do things like follow me everywhere, subscribe to me everywhere, like me everywhere. But you can become a patron. Now there's just one tier, but if you were so inclined, you could even like double the amount of the tier or triple the amount. I think that's a lot. I'm pretty sure. But the other link down below is a link to my PayPal where you can type any amount in and that will be a tip. So tips are welcome. In the old days, I'd tip the guy at the convenience store if he made me a fresh pot of coffee and got me a fresh donut. Now people are tipping everywhere for everything. So you can throw me a tip or not, it's fine. I'd prefer to start seeing people repost my videos, my streams, my shorts. Those will definitely help just as much. Won't cost you anything but a couple minutes of time. It's something I've done plenty for other artists, creators, writers. You know. And I was wondering, you haven't heard my little critter, because my kitty cat Rocket is a slumbering. Kind of has the thing where he wakes up. Well, he a lot of times he usually wakes me up, gets breakfast, goes outside for his morning ritual. Outside 99.9% of the time, outside is where he goes to the bathroom. I do have a litter box inside, but he prefers nature. And he does that, and maybe checks in with friends, stalks some neighbors. Who knows what he's up to? I'm too busy working. Then he comes back inside, bugs me for a little bit, and then takes his morning to early afternoon naparoonie, because he's a good boy and he realizes I'm usually working at this point. Well, I work all day other than when he's too much in my face. A lot of times I'll play with him for 5 minutes and tell him to go outside, or just tell him to stay away from me. I'm working. But he's mostly. So yeah, in summary, this year is gonna be crazy, gonna be hectic. I hope I can clean up a lot of gigs, go into next year fresh, and really, focus more on my own projects, get those going on a regular schedule, possibly. There was one TikToker that I had on my channel, Correct Handed Studios, David Whalen. He's on issue 35 of his book, so I can't be beat by an amateur. Hey, Sabato, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. But you know, I'm impressed by anybody who does their own book. Uh, like like Mitch, uh, Bloodforce, who I've had on the channel a bunch of times. I shared out, if you haven't seen, which you know, like there's a whole playlist of me inking the Bloodforce cover, um, which has all but one video because I stream on Mitch's channel and he was playing music that, you know, got flagged. But otherwise, the whole inking of the cover is there. I am everywhere. Yes, you are. It's you know, you don't have to be everywhere, but it's good to be everywhere if you want to really promote yourself and promote your work. I know I'm a lot of places. I'm not everywhere. There's a friend I talk to often, Christine, who's been on my channel, and she's trying to get me to sign up to some news site. I forget the name of it. It's short. I think it's like 4 letters. But I don't know. I just joined TikTok not long ago. Still learning and getting used to that. I do know like um, the shiny new site I'm on takes up more of my time, and then I'm posting less in other places. So what are you gonna do? I can only do so much, especially without an assistant. One day I'll have an assistant again. Back when I was working for DC Comics, yeah, mostly DC Comics, because I was on Aquaman, doing as much of the monthly book as possible. I had what, 4 or 5 different assistants, you know, individually, because everybody's schedule, you know, whatever. Um, I would say 3 of them were really good. There was one that was not so great, but he did help a little bit. um, I wasn't 100% convinced that having an assistant helped time wise because I usually had to teach them how I did things. I'm just very particular. You know, I'm not the best artist or inker or whatever, like, you know, but I stand by what I do and how I do it. So if you're just popping in now, like saboteur, um, this is my last pinup for a book called Sword Sorcery Magazine. It's a site online, but there's also they're making a collection of short stories, and there's a bunch of illustrators. This is my third piece for that. First 2 were fun. Definitely getting into this one as well. I feel like there's so much going on, I forget half the stuff when I try to think about it. But things are okay at the moment. You know, I could be bringing in better money. Slightly behind on some bills. But you know, some wiggle room is acceptable. You know, it's like what I tell people. It's like I'm not the fastest inker or anything else for that matter. More about quality as I perceive it. You know, if I was if I was a fast thinker, I tell you, I would be rich. Uh, Maybe one day. You know, I'm going to try to really jam on the Faction Paradox book. You know, altogether, that's probably going to be 150 pages. There's at least 130 that I'll have to ink. Because it was originally a series through Image, and there's already a batch of pages inked. So I don't have to ink everything for the book because the other pages were done years ago. Those pages are being recolored. So yeah, we got a great colorist, a great artist, definitely a great writer. I love working with. You know, the writer is Finn Clark. He's a guy out in London. You know, he got in touch with me for this project because originally Faction Paradox was another writer's work, but he asked it's Lawrence, I believe it was, for permission to do his take on it. It's a little choose your own adventure graphic novel. So it'll be a graphic novel with a couple of different endings depending on where you want to go in the story. I'm really excited to see it once it all comes together, but it's gonna be a ton of work. It's a ton of work. A challenge for sure. So these heads on the side of the illustration are, you know, masks. These all, you know, these two main characters in the middle, the two figures, um, go to a masked party where they meet up. So I was considering doing a crowd scene, but I was like, I don't have time for that. That would take me a year and a day. I gotta save time where I can. Yeah. As it is, like I could have gone a lot simpler in my approach to this. Um, but you know, this book is going to be a showcase of my art. Like I don't get the opportunity to do three pieces in one book often. I mean, this will be my first actually. So, you know, I want to have fun. Dang it. How much of fun? Sometimes actually. listening to, when I work, I listen to YouTube videos, podcasts, audits, sometimes other things. And there's a podcast by professionals called Ink Pulp, and they had Rob Liefeld on that. And I thought it was actually pretty good. Rob's all about promoting himself, promoting comics, and he talked a little bit about like what he was going through, like a couple of cool details about how he got to work from Marvel back in the 90s, after the formation of Image. They really paid him freaking well. But he had some of his own ideas of how he would run Marvel Comics nowadays. I'm trying to think of Black Eyes, or let me try. Trying to think of what to do visually. I'll just do something like that. Yeah, he mentioned at one point, like, if he had control of what Marvel was doing and how they were doing it, he would only have one X-Men book, and that's really like that's been my thought. Like, they've watered down everything they got going on for many, many years. That would be the way to go. So I agree with that. But like, he's got his book out again, Youngblood. It's selling really well. I have seen the interiors, and he's not a writer. He's not a storyteller. He's an in-your-face guy. So if you want that issue by issue, issue after issue after issue, then by all means, I mean, it's good to have a diverse amount of books and creators out there. So, he definitely knows how to sell his own book and make the numbers. I just hope to get my book out there and do, as many issues as I possibly can. I would love to do 100 books, 100 issues if I am given that opportunity. And by that, it's like, like, if fans pick up a couple of copies, and continue, to pick up the series ongoing, that's what will give me my opportunity. I have my own ideas about what makes a good book. Definitely what I want to do with have a cast of characters in the story in the first issue already. I just want to build on that. I have bigger plans if things go that way. But I've made many errors thus far, just getting to where I am And we'll continue to do so, but hopefully not the big errors I've made in my career along the way already. But yeah, just having fun with everything I do. But when I get my own book out there, get back to doing conventions, not do as much work for other people. I love inking, but I want to tone that down, so I'm doing more of my own work. I would love to do a lot of I would still love to do inking because I freaking love inking. But take bigger gigs, more more A-list gigs if I could possibly get them. That doesn't necessarily mean doing work from all in DC. Although it's like I go back and forth. It's like I wouldn't turn it down just to turn it down. I mean, if it's something worthy, if I deem it worthy. Like my brother has currently two Punisher projects. One 4-issue series that's just Punisher. That's in the Marvel Knights universe. The other one is Daredevil Punisher. Yeah, I'd love a chance to do something with Daredevil, but yeah, I mean, currently, they got. I think they got a lot of Daredevil projects going, and it's kind of like, well, if you give me a Daredevil gig, then do it at a time when there's not other competing Daredevil books. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. Just a couple lines. I want to approach some of these faces differently. Yeah, I jumped in with my quill because I noticed my brush was a little fuzzy on the tip. You don't want a fuzzy tip. Trust me, you don't want a fuzzy tip. Yeah, that's good. I'm undecided what's going to be behind them. I'm thinking it might be black. That might be the best way to go. I'll do halos around the heads and the figures or something. This one down here is kind of the bird head. I was like, let me make one of the faces of a bird, something different. Why not? Growing up, I read Man Magazine, and one of my favorite artists from Man Magazine was Jack Davis. I happened across an old, Stanley show that he did, and it had Jack Davis in it. I never saw the person. I only saw the art. It's back then. It wasn't like nowadays where like everybody's talking with everybody, and you get to talk directly with writers and artists in the comic industry. You get to talk to celebrities. This is maybe supposedly. um, Depending, they might have a group of people working their socials, but you get direct contact with a lot more people online, so you know what they look like. I don't think I ever saw Jack Davis in person. Just a huge fan of his work. Which is a little crazy. I kind of thought maybe saw a younger picture of him at some point, like the Stanley show. I'm guessing he was of an older age. I just mentioned how it's like I love working with a quill, especially if I'm going to throw a ton of detail on something in a scratchy manner. I can do quill with clean work, of course. It just lends itself to scratchy. I don't know if you hear that, but it's 12 o'clock here, lunchtime, and we got some church bells that go off during Christmas. It was holiday song. It's a little annoying. When I first moved here, um, specifically to this apartment, because the church is, what is it? One, two, maybe 4 blocks away, give or take. The church didn't have a speaker on the outside, so it didn't used to exist. Um, but well, it's over now. It was a short one. Sometimes it's longer, I guess, because during the holidays they're playing more holiday songs. over the outside airwaves. Now, currently, the weather's halfway decent. It's not super sunny per se, but I think we're upper 50s, if not 60 today. So, I remember being back in New York, and for those that don't know, I'm in Kentucky, a small town in Kentucky, about an hour south of Louisville, if you know Kentucky at all. A little further from Lexington. Those are like the two big areas. Um, I was going to say something that I forget. You can weather the weather. Only sometimes, Jay. Only sometimes. Yeah, we have reasonable weather here as opposed to, back in New York, where I'm originally from. Not sure if they have snow at the moment. I haven't really kept up with other areas' weather. What other goodness? Oh, I'm making a commitment to myself because I got such a tons of work. I'm cutting out, and I probably mentioned this before, but I'm cutting out movies and TV shows until at least I got um, a couple of projects done because I've I've never had this much work. It could be 2 years worth of work. Um, I don't know. I'll have to get through it. It's kind of overwhelming when I think about it. New York is currently 48 and cloudy. um, Moving from New York to Kentucky, it was and it wasn't. I mean, I moved from New York because I was only going to stay there. It's I grew up in Brooklyn, and I loved it. And I probably had, well, I've definitely lived in every borough of Brooklyn. I didn't necessarily own some of the apartments I lived in as a roommate, but um, I loved it there and all the areas and everything about it. But for me to have continued to live there, I really needed to make much better money. So I was on the lookout for somewhere cheaper to live, and I had a friend who's still a friend, Scotty, who was living in Bardstown at the moment. That was another town in Kentucky, uh, a beautiful town, a fast growing town from what they all always mentioned back when I was living there. Um, and Yeah, it's not the hustle and bustle of New York. It's not like one of the things I did a billion times is just go from Brooklyn into the city, into Manhattan, and walk around and see the sights and go places, and like is a million things to do at any time in the day. Not necessarily the case in Kentucky. It's like, I know the town I'm in is barely made for people to walk around. Every borough of New York. So I lived in Brooklyn, I lived in Queens, I lived in Manhattan, I lived in Bronx, I lived in Staten Island, and those are the five boroughs. Yeah, I definitely left it because of the cost of everything. Um, you know, I will go back there. It's like a lot of my old friends that are still living there. Although it's like, part of the magic of New York, when I got into comic books, is that both Marvel and DC were there. And going back will kind of be a little sad because for that reason alone. It's definitely changed. New York has definitely changed visually speaking and everything else. I've seen plenty of videos and pictures of what New York looks like nowadays, and it's um, Manhattan is always evolving. It's just the nature of it. Like there's always construction. There's always new buildings going up. There's always construction on old buildings to keep them alive, from falling apart. Is you know, but the people were different. The scene is different. You know, I was there when CBGB's was still around and still functioning. That's gone. Uh, a bunch of the comic stores I went to when, like Manhattan had a whole bunch of different comic conventions, comic book stores, and a lot of those have closed down or moved locations, so that it's a whole different scene for that. I was in every borough of Brooklyn. I was in every borough of New York as a whole. But I would love to revisit. Like I lived in Sheepshead Bay. Like one of the apartments I stayed in the longest was in Sheepshead Bay, and that's in Brooklyn. That's towards the side furthest from Manhattan, and that's where Brighton Beach is. That's where Coney Island Beach is. And because I was so close, I was relatively walking distance from two beaches. I'd go there a ton. I'd go there with my bike, um, just to ride around. Like there's the area closest to Brighton Beach was a richer area as far as homes, and I loved riding my bike over there because there was barely anybody outside. um, you get it like a rich neighborhood, and just like you know, people drive up to their home, or people drive away from their home, but you don't necessarily see them hang out front of their homes like other neighborhoods. Um, some of those homes had like 12-foot walls around them. So like little mini estates. It was a beautiful neighborhood, um, right directly near Brighton Beach. And then Coney Island was like a lot of Russians. I mean, it was all mixed, but like definitely a lot of Russians lived in the neighborhood over there. And those are all the crazy people that went swimming in the middle of the winter, which I never did. Um, but they also would have. I'm not sure who hosted it, but Coney Island had the mermaid parade. Guys and girls and crazy people would dress up as mermaids and crazy outfits. Um, that was always fun. But I know like that has changed because like after I moved, there was the big storm over there that a lot of the boardwalk was destroyed, and so that's entirely different uh, looking area almost. Like I think they might have cemented it. I forget. I saw videos like right after the storm, then a couple of years later, and, they fixed everything up, but it was different. Also, like Sheepshead Bay specifically, right up against like there's a little well, there's a bay where a lot of boats pull up and dock, where they sold fresh food, all seafood. That area is completely different because there used to be a rule that 2 stories was the limit. So you have a restaurant and then you have a family living above the restaurant. But once they changed the rule, it blew up. Like that is 10-story buildings, 20-story buildings, condominiums. I don't even know, hotels. I'm not even sure, but that was a little disappointing. That area used to have a lot of charm to it, and it doesn't. It really doesn't make sense that you would specifically open up that area for higher buildings when the worst thing about the area even back then was that there was just it was just nowhere to park. Hey, Tank Ferret. Good morning, all you magnificent bastards and bastards. Like, share. That's right. Like this video, share this video, subscribe if you haven't. I was mentioning all that before. Appreciate you adding to the conversation. How you doing? Happy New Year. I haven't looked at your work lately. What have you been up to? You do fantastic art. That's all I know. I think pretty much I would say you're better than me as far as artistic ability. Oh, no problem. Thanks for jumping in. Oh, it looks great. Thanks. Happy New Year. Stay magnificent. You too, buddy. We'll see you around again. I know some people do that. I do that too. Where, like, you jump in on something live, you say hello, and you don't really have the time to hang out. I've done that aplenty. I pop into people's live streams. They mention my name, and then I leave. It's like free promotion. Right. Liked and retweeted it on X. That's what everybody should do. Yeah, it's like I don't normally stream at this point in the day, but I think I am looking for a different time slot because I would like to stream earlier than 4, only because I want to stream longer at some point. Maybe not necessarily today. Usually I stream an hour. It's about an hour. I'm just going to go. I'm continuing on. I'm not sure when I'm ending today, but could be 2 minutes from now. It could be an hour. But yeah, 4 o'clock. If I want to do a long stream, then it gets into dinner, and I have sort of a cutoff point. Like I do want to increase my days. I'm not sure. I'm not sure like how I'm going to go about it, but day by day. But yeah, I'll figure it out. It's like I got so much to do. It's hard to keep track of anything. I was watching a video. There's an artist I follow. She was posting her whole video dedicated to how she keeps track of everything. She has a whole book, like when she exercises, when she spends money, when she, you know, finishes the page in her comic, and like everything down to the last detail. Um, and that's like phenomenal. There's no way in hell I'm doing something like that this year, but I would like to get to a point where I can really keep track of everything and like gauge progress on things. But yeah, not this year. This year, I just want to be successful in getting a lot of work done. I did a bloop. It's okay. Um, yeah, I talked earlier in the stream about just I'm posting different things. I'm streaming and making videos on different things, and God bless you if you're keeping track of any of it. I barely am. But this year is very unusual. I have at least a year's worth of work, possibly 2, depending on how you look at it. One of the projects I would love to get back to was with Mark Torres. We did 2 issues of a book called what is it called? Geez, I'm blanking on the name now. Anyway, I completed 2 issues of a 5-issue miniseries. And I would love to get back to that and finish that, and talked to him late last year, and he was talking with publishers because he went to the crowdfunding route and wasn't highly successful. We got the first book funded, the second book kind of died on a branch. And man, that project's been through many stages. I mean, originally it was called the Chosen Few. Even the name has changed. It went through different inkers at some point. I had the project originally to ink, and then got busy with other things, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna give it to some other people to ink." They dabbled on the pages that I had to re-ink their inks on some of it when I got back on the project, but all good. There was one page that was completely lost and had a bad Xerox copy of the pencils, and that was a challenge. And it was a page I inked. Damn it. That's probably the only time that ever happened. But all right, what am I doing here? So yeah, I'll go a little longer, like 8 minutes. Which is anybody watching that has a question, feel free to ask somebody else. No, you can ask me something if you want. I mentioned earlier, also, I did an interview recently that's going to be posted at a future time, so I'll share that when that's available. I'm streaming at 8 o'clock tonight. That will be an actual interview type format as opposed to what you're getting now. Because my friend Ray, who I'm having on, prefers that format. He's not a talker like me. He just can't talk off the top of his head. So he's like, make a list of questions. So I'll make a list of questions for him. He's got his first book that he made, and I'll ask him all about that and other things. Nah, I'm just here to support the stream. Well, okay then. At some point, down the line, when life is less chaotic, have you on again. We'll talk about our project. And yes, I know I got to make progress on it. I think about it every day. It's like I got a master list in my head of everything I got to do. I will get to it this month for sure. Hopefully sooner than later. But right now I gotta, other than some art to finish or do, I gotta focus on Faction Paradox mostly for the foreseeable future. I gotta make big progress on that book. You know, when one project turns into two, and you're working with the same writer, you know, there's Faction Paradox with Finn Clock and me and Finn and actually a team are working on a proposal for whatever publisher picks up our book, and that I'll be getting pages to next week, as well as a batch of faction pages. So that should be really interesting. Never in my life would I have thought I would be this busy. No point in me being on and saying things that can't be heard. Well, you just be nice. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my friend Jay. He's the co-writer of Nice Monster. If you want to support me on Patreon, I'll be working on that comic creation. I knew I would start slow on that project, but damn it, I thought I'd at least have a page out by now. It's, this year is going to be a little bit of stumbling. Not fast. And nobody does my shopping and laundry but me. Oh, this headset has no microphone. Man, I broke my headset that also had a microphone on it. It dropped to the floor and one of the ears busted off. I tried fixing it, but it wasn't being held in place. It was like, screw it, I gotta get a new one. But the thing is, I've been doing, videos and streams and hangouts and whatever, like without a headset. The technology has improved or something. Like I used to wear a headset all the time. Like I couldn't stream without a headset because, you'd hear all the noise or something like I think the audio program on PCs have gotten smarter. That's what I meant. Things that couldn't be. Oh, I thought the words out of your mouth couldn't be heard. Like that one stream I was on where the guy was talking and I could hear it. Yeah. It happens, the interview we did it via Zoom, which you know, I could add up on one hand the amount of Zooms I've done in my career, which is 5. I got 5 fingers. And because I'm not as familiar with it, and one of the guys interviewing me suggested I share some artwork. I tried sharing some artwork, and all this we're seeing are little the little images in a folder I made, not the big close up I thought I was showing off. So I only mentioned that because it was technology still gets in the way sometimes. They couldn't be heard for technical reasons. That's correct. So I know there's a group of people here. Anybody else want to just say hello before I leave, or are you fine just being a nameless number? Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up. You know, the quality of today's picture is slightly better. The still looks, everything looks bluish and whatever. Eventually, at some point in the year, probably later than sooner, the quality is going to improve, I swear, because I'll get new lighting, I'll get new webcam. Just money isn't there right now. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching me work on this piece. I hope to get this done today. I'm gonna grab I'm gonna grab some lunch first because I'm starving. And like I said, I'll be back here later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern with Ray, just a independent artist and new comic maker. Like, subscribe, share this video, even after the fact. Share all my old videos as well. Anything that gets people's eyes on my videos boosts my channel. Eventually, I'll be monetized here, and I'll just be raking in the dough. All right, for now, I say adieu. Keep making comics, keep making art, and I'll catch you tonight. All right.